Good evening and welcome to a special City Council meeting for Monday, May 10th at 7 p.m. Madam Clerk, can you please read the call?
Here. Here. Here.
Here.
Here. Here.
Here, 7 being present, please join me in Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This evening there is no minutes to approve, so we'll go right to the mayor's message. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. President. Just want to remind everybody about COVID-19 testing and vaccinations that we continue to offer in partnership with Maine CDC and DHHS as we all work collaboratively to combat this pandemic. These have been valuable resources to have here in the community, making it easy for community members and businesses to protect one another with testing and vaccinations. Testing is by appointment only now through the end of the year at the Public Safety Building at 570 Main Street. In total, our Fire and Rescue Department will have administered nearly 1,000 COVID-19 vaccinations. Last week, they completed the final administration of first doses and will administer the second round at the end of the month before officially closing. We thank them for all the efforts they did to help get the community vaccinated. Also want to remind everyone, as announced at our last meeting, our traditional Memorial Day parade has been canceled for a second year in a row due to COVID-19 concerns. However, we will hold a Memorial Day ceremony in Riverbank Park similar to the one held on Veterans Day. The ceremony will be held on May 31st at 10 a.m. We look forward to seeing everyone there as we honor those who have served and have been lost. And then also a reminder, as announced at our last meeting, about Westbrook Together Days. In partnership with the Westbrook-Gorham Community Chamber of Commerce, we are sad to report that the 2021 Westbrook Together Days have been canceled due to uncertainty of gathering restrictions and lengthy planning that is required to host such an event. The Chamber has been sensitive to the challenges faced by our local businesses, which are major sponsors of the event and may not have the same resources available this year. We encourage everyone to continue supporting these local businesses during this time of recovery. In place of this year's Westbrook Together Days, the Chamber is planning a fireworks display to be held in early July in celebration of Independence Day. More details on that event to follow soon. I will now read a mayoral proclamation celebrating National Police Week. Whereas National Police Week is observed May 9th through the 15th to honor the brave men and women in law enforcement who have lost their lives while serving their communities. And whereas Chief Pierre Harnois and Officer Pearlie Kenny have both made the ultimate sacrifice and lost their lives while in the line of duty. And whereas National Police Week is also a time to recognize the tremendous sacrifices that our law enforcement officers make for all of us every day. And whereas the officers of the Westbrook Police Department proudly serve the city of Westbrook every day by maintaining the public's trust by ethically, courageously, and impartially serving our diverse community, maintaining order, enforcing laws, reducing the perception of fear, and improving the quality of life for all who live, work, and play in the city of Westbrook. And whereas the officers of the Westbrook Police Department commit themselves to continued training and professional development to continue to provide a high level of service to the city of Westbrook, and whereas the officers of the Westbrook Police Department are dedicated to providing community policing services to the city so they may establish positive relationships with the community to better address the public safety issues the city faces, and whereas the officers of the Westbrook Police Department risk their lives to safeguard our citizens every day. Now therefore, I, Michael T. Foley, Mayor of the City of Westbrook, Maine, do hereby proclaim that May 9th through the 15th, 2021 is National Police Week in the city of Westbrook, and call upon the people of Westbrook to show gratitude to any members of the police department that you may encounter and to support the activities of the City of Westbrook Police Department this month and throughout the year. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Westbrook to be affixed. I will now share a budget update and some slides associated with the referenced figures this evening. I'm very pleased to submit a revised budget proposal for fiscal year 22, which responds to both the City Council Finance Committee's vote to fully fund the school budget request and our overriding goal to minimize any further increases in the property tax rate for the upcoming year. The key changes that have led to this revised budget proposal is increased revenue sharing to reflect increased state revenue from state sales and income taxes. Additionally, Governor Mills has pledged a supplemental state budget that increases funding for schools. These two funding adjustments enable us to cover increased spending in our school budget without corresponding increases to the property tax rate. Additionally, we have also seen stronger growth in citywide valuation than initially projected, which enables us to accomplish all of these changes with a minimal increase in the property tax rate for the coming year as my original budget proposed. Specifically, these revisions include the following: fully restoring the school budget funding request, an adjustment of $470,000 as added by the City Council Finance Committee. These adjustments will be fully covered by revenue growth from state revenue sharing increase of $129,182, anticipated state aid to education increase of $100,000, and additional growth in the city's assessed valuation of approximately $17 million. These changes allow the city to fund essential educational services and operations while keeping the property tax rate at a modest increase of 22 cents, which is 1.22% over the current tax rate, just 1 cent over the previous proposed budget. We recognize that these proposed adjustments do not include any increase in municipal spending, which is a continued concern. We are hopeful that in the governor's proposed supplemental state budget, there will be even more improvements for both municipal and school revenue that will potentially support investment in critical municipal needs. We anticipate receiving the governor's supplemental state budget by the end of the week, and once we receive these final figures, we will return to the City Council with further proposed adjustments in both municipal spending and revenues. This has been an extraordinarily challenging year to develop a balanced, responsible budget for our community. Our goals from the outset have been to provide sufficient funding to support our essential local services while minimizing any impact on our property taxpayers, many of whom continue to struggle with the harsh economic impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. We hope this is welcome news, and we encourage the City Council to make these proposed revenue adjustments this evening during the adoption of the budget, and also support the school budget as presented by the school committee and recommended by the City Council Finance Committee. Should the school budget receive City Council approval, it will appear on the ballot for the school budget validation referendum held on Tuesday, June 8, 2021. We encourage all voters to participate in this important aspect of local government. And I'll quickly ask Angela to advance the slides. As you can see from these proposed figures, these were previously presented at a meeting 2 weeks ago. They include no change to the municipal spending figures, which still is showing a $66,000 reduction in spending, or a negative 0.24%. There is an adjustment to the TIF figure from previous, as the TIF figure is a circular number, so when our tax rate increases or adjusts, that figure moves with it. And then the school spending, the only adjustment that's here is the adjustment as recommended by the City Council Finance Committee, which increases the spending to $1,365,488, which is an increase of 3.35%, which is fully supportive of the budget as proposed by the Westbrook School Committee. And then there's no other change in the county tax. It does show a total expenditure increase of $1,588,896. And then here is the proposed revenues, which show an increase in municipal revenue, as I outlined in my message, which is a change of $122,224 over the previous year budget, which is a 0.89% increase. And then an increase of $100,000 to the school revenues, which brings the total change or loss of $304,519, or negative 1.59%. Given a total reduction in revenues over last year's budget of $182,295. And then here is the proposed tax needs formula. The municipal proposed tax needs is showing a reduction of $786,632, or negative 5.47%. The TIF adjustment was adjusted as I explained earlier. The schools show a net need of taxes of $1,670,000, which is a 7.73% increase, and no other changes to the other ones, which ultimately shows a proposed net tax needs of $1,173,330 from the previous year's budget. Therefore, you bring all those numbers together to come up with a proposed tax rate, which in this case, the municipal shows a 45% reduction or 45-cent reduction, or set negative 7.03%. The TIF increase is 9 cents. The school increase is 57 cents, which is a 5.95% increase, and no change to the county, which ultimately brings us to a 22-cent mill rate increase, which is 1.22%, and the budget proposal that I had crafted previously had a 21-cent mill rate increase. So we feel that this is an acceptable tax rate increase to provide to the residents to deal with these increased expenditures. And some of the challenges we have with municipal spending, these are a preview of some items that might come forward as part of a supplemental budget should we receive additional municipal revenue. Improved police patrol or supervision, as the chief had recognized as a critical need of that department. Administrative support for the mayor and city clerk's office, which the city clerk recognized as a critical need for us at City Hall. And then library support to help with expanded hours, which is also a critical need that was identified by the library. And then one of the even more critical needs that is identified by our Public Services Director, in addition to the public, is municipal paving. So we hope to, with some improved municipal revenues, increase that number to either 100,000 plus included in our annual budget to help. $100,000 doesn't get you a lot of paving, but it will help as we work to increase that number on an annual basis going forward. And so some of the policy decisions that we talked about last time, we're using $722,000 less in fund balance funds for property tax stabilization. Included on the budget, which will need to bring forth a council order in the future, is the use of school project capital balances for school debt payment. The next one is the senior property tax assistance program, which was expanded to age 65 to help create additional safety nets for residents who may be struggling to make ends meet, who meet those requirements, and that's included in the budget. And then increased use of TIF revenue for economic development over last year, which is included in the budget. And then the American Rescue Plan money, which is not included in the budget, but U.S. Treasury regulations were just released today, late this afternoon. We haven't had a chance to fully review those, so once we're able to fully review those, we will come back to the City Council for a plan of how to appropriately use those funds. And then the policy decisions amendments that are required for this evening, which I've provided councilors an adjusted council order, which reflects all the numbers that need to actually change, which is the revenue share increase, state revenue sharing number of $129,182, and increased state aid to education of $100,000. There's no adjustment required for the assessment. Those are estimated figures that are provided by the city assessor as required from state law. So we're not able to make any of those adjustments during this time. Typically, a lot of those adjustments would come at a later time in the year, and we've been working very hard with our assessor, as I outlined at previous meetings, to try to get some of these adjusted figures to help better manage the tax rate increase going forward. And then also in the council order that I provided to you, there is one other adjustment we'll ask the council to amend as well, which is the interest rate for delinquent taxes, which is set by state law, and we carry forward the date or the percentage from last year, and that has been set by state law at 6%, so we would want to have that adjustment made as well. And I think that concludes my slides for this evening, and I would hope that the City Council would support the proposed budget adjustments this evening in an effort to fully fund our school department budget and hopefully bring forth some critical municipal expenditures in the future. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This brings us to our City Council message time. Any City Council member would like to speak on any subject? Councilor Morse.
Since we have a good turnout tonight, I just wanted to mention something I saw posted on Facebook today by the Westbrook Public Services, pointing out that our contamination rate for our recycling went up 5% in April. And this may or may not be a problem that everyone is aware of at this point, but it's an economic problem how poor our contamination rate is. And so they listed some of the things people are putting in their recycling bins, including things like used diapers and furniture and those types of things. So I know that everybody in Westbrook pretty much appreciates being able to recycle their goods, and if we want to be able to continue doing that in the future, we want to get that contamination rate down. So it's not great to see it going up 5% in April, and hopefully we can get back on the trend that we have been seeing of it improving. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Morse. Councilor Chow.
Yes, thank you very much. I just wanted to thank a couple people, Barry Dodd and Jamie Grant. It takes a lot of production to get us on the stage and on TV, and those guys are doing a wonderful job. They're the people behind the camera that you can't see, and they're the ones that are able to broadcast this and show the public our meetings. So thank you very much to you guys who both work very hard, and thank you for being at all our meetings.
Thank you. Vice President Turcotte.
I'd like to thank the administration and Mr. Mayor for your creativity, for going back to the drawing board and bringing this to us. That took a lot of work, I'm sure, and I also want to thank all the constituents that came last time, and also those who reached out and called after the meeting. We really appreciate all your participation in this year's budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? I just want to piggyback on Councilor Moore's comments regarding recycling. My trash and recycling gets picked up on a Tuesday morning, so I rolled out my containers and saw two young ladies walking down the street. They were interns from UNE, so they're actually taking a stand on this, and for the third week in a row, I've gotten a rock star. I want to thank my children at home for doing that. But there is a lot of emphasis on that, and there's a lot of learnings. They were really excited to be able to share. Lots of times they don't get a lot of people. It's about 7:30 in the morning. A lot of people have gone to work, and just take that little piece of paper and really put it on your refrigerator as a reminder of what could go in there and what can't. I think that a lot of people say, well, geez, that will break down. But it's the facility isn't able to break down certain recyclable components of what you think is recyclable. So it was interesting. I didn't want to take up much of their time, but they really liked what they were doing, and I commend this Public Works for having them join in the fight of recycling. So thank you. Seeing no other comments, and I don't see a student representative here this evening, this will bring us to our first public comment where anyone can speak on any subject for 3 minutes or less. Does anyone from the public like to speak? Please come down and state your name and where you live.
Sue Salisbury, 134 Park Road, Westbrook. I'm the Vice Chair of the School Committee, Chair of the Finance Committee, and I also represent House District 35, which is part of Westbrook. I just want to take an opportunity to thank Mayor Foley and the administration for reviewing the budget and fully supporting the school committee's proposed budget. I appreciate that support, and the other counselors that supported that as well. Just as an aside, because I am in the House of Representatives, a note of caution that I haven't seen the governor's proposed supplemental budget yet, nor the increase to revenue sharing or increase to spending on education. I am on the education committee. I am hopeful. I am hopeful, as I'm sure a lot of you are, but I haven't seen that yet. So I will cross my fingers with all of you that all of that comes forward as well. And I hope that if for some unknown reason it doesn't pan out, that we can still count on that funding. The mayor has indicated that it would still be covered, that we don't have to worry about that. But I just want to put that out there, that this is money we don't know for sure is coming. And it makes me a little bit wary, but I appreciate looking forward in that direction and hoping for that money as well. And again, we appreciate the support of the school budget, and we look forward to stronger relationships and more collaboration from both sides and working together to make sure that our next budget process goes smoother along those lines. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Is there any other individual who would like to speak? Come right down.
Thank you. Peter Lancia, Superintendent of Schools. To echo what Ms. Salisbury said, thank you, Mayor Foley and Mr. Bryan and the administration for your creativity and the way that you have supported our schools, the children of the city of Westbrook. I want to speak on their behalf. Thank you for supporting them and supporting their needs. And as Ms. Salisbury said, I also look forward to greater collaboration, greater communication, building a stronger relationship between the schools and the city so that we can continue to provide the best education for all for life, and so that the schools will be a gem in the crown of the city of Westbrook. So thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Yep. If you could use this microphone over here. Yep.
Good evening. I'm Flynn Ross at 123 Pennell Street. I want to thank you all, Mayor Foley, for your dogged work on this. This is a ton of hours, I recognize. And to the American Journal for making reporting on this, and to everybody in City Hall who post all these documents and make them public so that this process can be transparent. I do want to share that I'm really disappointed that the debate has been set up a bit between city budget, municipal budget, and school budget, and between retired seniors and working families and teachers. I recommend that we really examine the corporate welfare in the form of TIFs and the absence of school impact fees on new development. In reviewing the city budget before this, on page 6 of the 211-page document, just before this meeting, that the largest increase was in the TIFs, and then it just went up 3% more on this slide here to 9.67 or $2.86 million. So I'd love to hear more about what the TIF involves, and I'm not sure what we're committed to. I also urge you again to look at school impact fees. We are currently budgeted for $4.3 million of that school budget is debt service. Debt service is expansion of our schools, right? The planning board just approved 22 new duplexes and apartments on Spring Street, and we cannot add any school impact fees to those new because they were approved. Westbrook is where people want to come, right? We are booming development here. We are going to get more students. We are going to need to expand the schools again. We are at capacity now. School impact fees will help address this. $4.3 million of that school budget is debt service. We can do better. So I urge you, if there are any additional revenues, pay down some of that debt and look at school impact fees for incoming development. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Come down, state your name, where you live.
Ben Waxman, 55 Union Street. Thank you, Mr. President, and I want to thank the City Council. I want to thank Mayor Foley, and the school board for all the work they've done over the last couple weeks. This has been an incredibly challenging year in Westbrook and across the country. I want to praise again the work that all of you as elected officials have done throughout this pandemic, from the mayor to the city manager to the school board to the police chief to the fire chief and countless others. You have weathered an unthinkable storm. I also want to praise the teachers, and there's a few of them here tonight. For too long, teachers have been blamed for the problems of poor test scores. We all know that. The truth is, they deserve our respect and our admiration. In the end, they are on the front lines of making sure our future generations are equipped with the knowledge they need to succeed. I also want to say that the past 2 weeks of this budget process for me has been eye-opening and informative, and I've had a lot of conversations with a lot of you. It's also been inspiring, and it's been concerning. Eye-opening because we have seen the work that goes into making this all work. You've all worked tirelessly on this. Informative because we are starting to learn about our leaders and how they think. Inspiring because we have seen what I would characterize as the silent majority, which are many people in this room, standing up and speaking in favor of not a political issue, but rather an issue of what our children deserve. Not a good education, instead of great education. It has been concerning because I've seen, like I saw in my previous career, silos. Uncoordinated and miscommunication by all the parties, whether it's the citizens or the city council and the school board. It's time for us to work together. You all need to figure this out. And I think this is a great opportunity to move forward. It's not about any one person. It's not about your office. It's not about your reelection. It's about the kids, period. It's not about single political views. It is about all of us living in a collective society. We live in a democracy, and a democracy must be engaged. It must be debated, and compromises are required for us to move forward. I hate to say it, but as we saw on January 6th, a failure to educate our children will only result in long-term ignorance and misinformed populations. That is not what this community should be doing. We should be moving our children forward. I'm asking you, Mr. Mayor, the City Council, the school board, the superintendent, all school board members, to talk to each other. I own a business. I don't make decisions without talking to my board, nor does my wife. Work together. Accept that the community we love needs to do better at funding our schools. Teachers need to be paid more. Period. If you are here for the right reasons, then political agendas and elections don't matter. Follow your hearts. I am glad there is a resolution to fully fund the schools, but I hope that this is an awakening for all of us to come together and get involved. That is, the community demands that schools be the priority, and we will continue to advocate for schools and the children of this community in the days, weeks, and years ahead. It's time for everyone to work together on the next budget, not wait until next year. Work on it now. Being just okay isn't good enough. It's not good enough. And we've seen that, and unfortunately our children have paid the price. It's time to pave a new path for children in this community, and that starts with all of you as leaders, us as community members, and business owners. I want to thank you all for the work you've done. I'm really glad that we found a resolution. Thank you for your time, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Yep.
Elizabeth Sarrazin, 98 King Street. I also wanted to say thank you, and this is an echo of what others have said, but I also want to say that I know I will be looking really closely at what the request is for the school committee next year, as I did this year, because that's what first got me interested in this process. And it is one thing to say that this is a wonderful result, but if the request for the school committee next year is a flat budget, that will show me that we didn't learn a lot this year. So I just want, as a citizen, to say I will be watching this process as it goes forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Yep, come on down, state your name and where you live.
My name is Brian Foster, 42 Osaka Street. Again, I want to repeat everybody for thanking all the hard work you did, Mr. Mayor, for working on finding a solution. I know I was able to meet with you personally and hear your viewpoint on things, so it was nice to open my eyes to talk, and that's what needs to happen. Obviously, the leadership and people on this council and the school board, whatever history involved is, whatever that came from, it obviously bubbled up in this budget process, in the meetings and comments that were made. It needs to improve, like my fellow citizen said. It needs to improve. We need to get over whatever happened last year, 5 years ago, 15 years ago, whatever issue is still hanging over these discussions between the school board and the city council. We need to move past them. We need to do the best we can for our schools, for our city, for our teachers, for our students. And the only way that happens is if both sides can find a way to just communicate better, collaborate better. Because I know all of you up there and Dr. Lancia care about this city, care about our students, and want to do what's best for them. But if we're gonna hang ourselves up on grievances from how many years ago that have built up, we're not gonna move forward. And we know we have new people on the city council and new people on the school committee. There's a way to move forward in a positive way. And I just urge you all to do that. Both sides. It's not a one-way street, it's a two-way street. So just work it out. Like you said, leading's hard. Like Mr. Waxman said last week, leading is hard, but all of you chose the positions you're in to lead, right? You made the decision to do that. So I just urge all of you to do that and work it out. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that'd like to speak? Angela?
I do have a letter to read into the record. This was emailed to city councilors today from Katie Maloney. Hello, I am unable to attend the council meeting this evening, but I would like my email with my comments read into the record. I am a parent and homeowner in Westbrook, and I am writing to voice my support for the approval of the school budget as proposed. The requested cuts would hurt those that need the most assistance and make education accessible to the privileged, specifically those who do not have a language barrier or who are not neurodiverse. Providing for all students is investing in humans, but more than that, it's the right thing to do. Cuts to this budget are essentially saying that the city council just doesn't care about the kids who need support to guarantee them the education that they are entitled to. Support staff make the difference in these kids' lives, and the idea that the community that I have chosen would consider shortchanging these kids is disgusting to me. This is our community, richly diverse, and I, for one, want to keep it that way. It is simply a fact that those with the highest needs incur higher costs. But this is not an area that should be skimped on, trimmed, or cut. A fully funded school system is a model of a society that cares and believes in every child and invests in that child no matter what. Thank you, Katie.
Thank you very much. There's no other comment from the public. I know Councilor Aganje had his hand up.
Thank you, Council President. What a week can bring to us. Last week we heard different messages from the public, from the council, from the administration. I missed the school budget, the school committee meeting, but I watched a 2-hour video because I wanted to educate myself before I could make any decision. I appreciate the hard work that went into this. I watched and listened to a video where even $4,000 was debated, whether to be included or not. It was hard work. And I appreciate that. I appreciate the teachers' work who went last year without a single raise, even though it was a tough year to teach kids who were in school and out of school. So wherever you are, we appreciate your hard work. I appreciate the ELL teachers. I am a product of those teachers. They taught me and they made me who I am today. We definitely understand the seniors' needs, and we need to do more. Instead of being behind the scene, behind the curve, to hide around the seniors' needs, we need to actually pass policies that support them. However, we need to invest in our school. I'm saying this because all last week and this week has been really tough thinking about this issue that we went through. We understand some of the things we heard, that the city of Poland was going to cut some budget, that we should do the same. For the record, they are not doing that. And I also want to say that it's good that we can also learn from our fellow councillor in Poland and South Poland. It's about time that we bring the policies of housing on this stage, because it's been happening elsewhere. I heard also people saying that we were intimidated by the taxpayer in video sending us messages. Yes, we got emails, we got calls, but I was not intimidated by anyone to make my vote. I support the school budget because it was something good to do, and I still am supporting the school budget because it's an investment that we need to do, and I agree that we need to work together to make better. However, the name calling, the intimidation was not there. Personally, I did not have that. I will continue to support this school budget because it's the right thing to do, morally, as a parent, as someone who loves this city. I'm glad that the work that went into effect last week made us, all of us together today, to be able to support this budget. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Any other comments? Councilor Shaughnessy.
I'll just take a quick minute to say thank the mayor for this. It's not only just bold leadership and decisive leadership, but it's creative leadership too, and the ability to think outside the box. But I really want to thank everybody that came out, because as they say, this is what democracy looks like. And I know there's not always as many issues that come before the council that have this kind of energy and this kind of effect. But it's great to see letters that come to us, and it's great to see people come and talk, because that's what the sense of engagement is that really moves us. And so keep it up. If there are things that are on your mind, call us up, talk to us. Don't be afraid to be engaged in this, and thank you very much for doing what you've done.
Is there anyone else? Come right down.
Hi, I'm Jamie Bork-Kobla. I live at 352 Bridge Street. I'm a parent of a child who's about to enter kindergarten. I'm also a taxpayer and a Portland Public School teacher. I sent an email to many of you today, and I appreciate if you took the time today to read that email. I know I got a response from Mayor Foley, so thank you for that. I don't think I need to go back in and reiterate what I said, but I just wanted to bring a photo in of my son, because we are here because of children. And I just wanted to give you a reminder of who you will be supporting, one of many, if you choose to go ahead and fund this budget. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Seeing no other public comment, we'll move on to unfinished business and orders of the day. Madam Clerk?
Under orders of the day for second and final reading, the first item we have is Order 2021-37, authorizing purchase of Knox boxes for Westbrook schools.
What is the wish of the council? Councilor Morse.
I move the approval of the following orders to be read by name only. Order 2021-37, authorizing purchase of Knox boxes for Westbrook schools. Order 2021-38, authorizing acceptance and expenditure of FEMA assistance to firefighters grant. Order 2021-39, authorizing acceptance and expenditure for modification to three-party partnership agreement for Cumberland Mills Signal Project. Order 2021-40, authorizing expenditure for Maine Criminal Justice Academy's Basic Law Enforcement Training Program. Order 2021-41, authorizing award of bid for 2021 sewer rehabilitation project. Order 2021-42, authorizing award of bid for replacement 20-ton trailer. And Order 2021-43, authorizing award of bid for replacement wood chipper.
It's been moved by Councilor Morse. Is there a second? Seconded by Vice President Turcotte. Any discussion on these items? Would anyone like any of these separated? Discussion from the public? Seeing none, Madam Clerk?
Councillor Shaughnessy?
Yes.
Councillor Morse?
Yes.
Councillor Chow?
Yes.
Vice President Turcotte?
Yes.
Councillor Story?
Yes.
Councillor Ragange?
Yes.
President Reardon?
Yes. 7 in favor, none opposed. Brings us to a resolves.
Resolve 2021-15, setting the hours of voter registration and polls for the June 8th, 2021 school budget validation referendum.
What is the wish of the council? Councilor Ragange.
I move the order 2021-15, setting the hours of voter registration and the polls for June 8, 2021 school budget validation referendum.
Is there a second of that resolve? Seconded by Councilor Chow. Discussion on this item? Councilor Chow?
Yes, thank you. Through you to the city clerk, where will the voting be, and do you anticipate the voting going back to the separate polling places?
The city of Westbrook has consolidated its polling locations to one spot. We now all vote at the Westbrook Community Center at 426 Bridge Street. We will still be following COVID guidelines in terms of voting. Everyone will be entering through the pool gym entrance and following a single path through the building to go vote in the gym. Alternatively, people can also request an absentee ballot. You can place an order now for that by calling our election hotline at 207-591-8116. We also have an order form on our website. If the school budget legislation receives second and final approval from City Council at the next City Council meeting on May 17th, we would then begin absentee voting at City Hall during our regular business hours following that final approval. Was that all your questions?
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that.
Is there any other discussion? Discussion from the public? Seeing none, Madam Clerk?
Councillor Shaughnessy?
Yes.
Councillor Morse?
Yes.
Councillor Chow?
Yes.
Vice President Turcotte?
Yes.
Councillor Story?
Yes.
Councillor Ragange?
Yes.
President Reardon?
Yes. 7 in favor, none opposed. Brings us to orders for 2 readings.
First item is Order 2021-44, authorizing expenditure for planning and design of the Mountain Division Trail.
What is the wish of the council? Councilor Shaughnessy.
I'll move Order 2021-44, authorizing expenditure for planning and design of the Mountain Division Trail, that the Westbrook City Council hereby authorizes a Recreation and Conservation Commission expenditure in the amount of $25,000 and further allocates and disburses $25,000 from the IDEX TIF to support the completion of the design report and construction documents for the Westbrook to Wyndham segment of the Mountain Division Trail. Funds in the amount of $25,000 are in the budget line, and funds in the amount of $25,000 are in the budget line from IDEX.
Is there a second to that motion? Seconded by Councilor Ragange. Discussion on this item? Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll take this opportunity to address some of the concerns raised by citizens about the corporate welfare or TIFs associated with how we reference them. TIFs are an interesting mathematical equation that at the end of the day significantly benefit the city of Westbrook, significantly benefit state aid to education here in the city of Westbrook, and significantly help to shelter a lot of value associated with this new growth and development, while allowing us to make significant investment in things that otherwise we would need to use the general fund property tax dollars to pay for. Here's a small example of a $25,000 fund that's used from the IDEX TIF to fund these trails expansions. Otherwise, we wouldn't have funds available in our annual municipal budget to add these $25,000 to help with the design of this Mountain Division Trail. So I understand the difficulty in understanding tax increment financing. The reason that the number goes up annually is because it goes up when the tax rate goes up. And the tax rate has gone up, and as you could see from the mathematics we showed earlier, the tax rate has gone up, mostly attributed to the school budget. And so when those numbers go up, it's a circular figure, as I've explained, that causes the TIF number to go up as well. But that money, a lot of that money is also returned to businesses to help make a significant investment in public infrastructure in the community, which I won't address it fully at this comment, but impact fees. For instance, Rock Row has invested, I believe, in excess of $12 million in off-site property improvements. For instance, any intersection or any road construction project that you've seen happen in Portland, in Westbrook, on the Turnpike, any of those items that are in and around Rock Row have all been paid for by Rock Row. They have not been paid for by any property taxpayer. We sometimes leverage state tax dollars with road paving projects and things of that nature, but those things allow us to make a significant investment in the community without throwing it on the backs of the general fund tax dollars. So anytime that anybody would like to take the time to learn about how TIFs work, our Economic Development Director, Dan Stevenson, he's raised his hand in the middle, has emailed dstevenson@westbrook.me.us. He will have a cup of coffee with you any day to explain the positive mathematical effects that those tax increment financing districts have on the city, specifically increased state aid to education to help us fund our education here in the community. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilor Chow.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to just add to that TIF thing. I've been trying for 10 years to explain TIFs, and it's been really hard to explain it. So a lot of you own homes and get a homestead exemption. If your home is worth $225,000 and you file for a homestead exemption and you live there, and you file this application, what the homestead exemption does is, instead of the city of Westbrook charge you $225,000 for your home that it's worth, you get a tax bill for $200,000. So it's magic. It's this homestead exemption. It's kind of like a TIF. We have TIFs for Arcadia. There's an insurance building and a Cinemagic on the corner of Spring and County, and that is 100% TIF. So basically their tax bill comes in, and then they get a tax bill, they pay us, and 100% of that TIF goes back to Westbrook. There's no corporate funds or corporate financing. It all goes back to the city of Westbrook. But that tax money is sheltered. So the state of Maine looks to see how rich Westbrook is, and they don't see Arcadia. They don't see IDEX. They don't see Rock Row. So they can't really charge us. So they value our property taxes. The state of Maine values how much we're worth. Once Rock Row and all those TIFs go away, we'll be worth a lot more. I remember at one point we were like 11th richest city in the state or something like that. It was crazy that we were so valued so high. Once those TIFs go away, we're going to be valued very high, and how much education we're going to get for state aid will be lower. The richer we are, the less education we get. The higher value we are, the more county taxes we have. So when I first learned about TIFs, I wanted to TIF the entire city of Westbrook. We'd have zero property value according to the state. We get unlimited state funding. We'd have no county tax, nothing. But apparently the lawmakers wouldn't allow us to TIF the entire city of Westbrook. So the TIFs really do help us. And once those TIFs mature, and Rock Road comes on the books, we're not going to have as much funding as we used to have. So that's how TIFs work. So TIF is not a dirty word. Thank you.
Thank you. And as far as Tiffin City, I think we had to have some type of balance within our government. So, Council Story.
Yeah, just getting back to the proposed order here, as someone who likes to ride their bike, I've heard great things about the Wyndham and Gorham segments of this trail, and looking forward to having a traffic-free place to ride. I haven't made it up there since the way to get up there isn't the safest roads, so nice to be able to access via Westbrook. So looking forward to this. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Story. Is there any other discussion? Discussion from the public. Mr. Stevenson?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I just wanted to add a little bit more to exactly what's before you. The first thing is to really understand and to thank all of the partners involved. That includes the Maine Department of Transportation. That includes the town of Wyndham, who've already voted to commit $50,000 of their funds toward this as well. They use TIF revenues as well. Also to Westbrook's Recreation and Conservation Commission as well for the $25,000. And also here, if you have any other questions about the history, how do we get to the Sebago to the Sea Trail, how was a portion of it built, how do we move forward with the planning, we have Rachel Curran Apps here if you have any questions. Also Rebecca Spatella from the planning partners here as well, in case you had any questions around how the planning works around it. What I want to be clear, what this would do, it would allow us to, this $100,000 total, would allow us to leverage up to another $250,000 from the Maine Department of Transportation in order to get final engineering design to make us eligible for state and federal funds to eventually construct this. This is an important economic development tool as well, because not only is it a safe, healthy way to travel, it would give us a 20-mile paved trail beside rail that would get us to Sebago Lake and back. A lot of people that are looking to places to live, it's highly desirable to live next to multi-use trail systems. So that's in a nutshell. The rest of it's in the memo. I just wanted to add that, and I'm certainly here for any questions as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stevenson. Does anyone?
Yeah, just to
Council
piggyback
Story.
on that, I did live and work in the Sacramento area for a while, and they have a very nice Riverside Trail, and I didn't enjoy much about living there, but I rode that trail quite a bit, and it was awesome. So,
Thank you. Any other discussion? Discussion from the public? Seeing none, it's been moved by Councilor Shaughnessy, seconded by Councilor Ganjay for orders numbers 2021-44. All those in favor? All those opposed? 7 in favor, none opposed. Next item, please.
The next item is Order 2021-45, authorizing award of bid for Cumberland Street Sewer Separation Project.
What is the wish of the council? Councilor Morse.
Move for the approval of Order 2021-45, authorizing award of bid for Cumberland Street Sewer Separation Project. That the Westbrook City Council hereby authorizes an award of bid to D&C Construction Company, Incorporated of Weymouth, Massachusetts, in the total amount of $730,945 for the Cumberland Street Sewer Separation. Funds are available in the sewer fund balance.
Is there a second to that motion? Seconded by Councilor Chow. Discussion on this item? Discussion from the public? Seeing none. All those in favor? All those opposed? 7 in favor, none opposed. Next item, please.
The next item is Order 2021-46, approving the fiscal year 2021-2022 annual budget and appropriations.
What is the wish of the council? Councilor Morse.
Move for the approval of Order 2020-46, approving the fiscal year 2021-2022 annual budget and appropriations. And if you're following along, you'll be reading from a slightly different version, which was provided to the councilors at the beginning of our meeting. that the Westbrook City Council hereby authorizes that the sum of $73,981,295 be appropriated to defray the cost of the various municipal and school departments and the county tax for the 2021-2022 fiscal year, July 1, 2021 to June 30, 2022. Breakdown of appropriation expenses by attached account summary. Expenses, municipal operations, $27,442,734. Tax increment financing, $2,863,059. School operations K through 12, $41,840,260. Adult, $283,858. County tax, $1,551,384, for a total of $73,981,295. Less municipal estimated revenue, $13,855,435. School estimated revenue, $18,846,783, for a total of $32,702,218, for a net budget of $41,279,077. Be it resolved that the sum of $41,279,077 be raised and assessed by the city assessor of taxes on the estates of the inhabitants of the city of Westbrook and upon the estates of the non-resident proprietors of said city, and the assessor is hereby required to assess on such estates such additional sum for an overlay above the sum hereby appropriated, not to exceed 5% thereof, as a fractional division thereof renders convenient in accordance with and pursuant to the laws of the state relative to taxation. Be it further resolved that the said tax shall be payable in 4 installments due on or before August 16, 2021, November 15, 2021, February 15, 2022, and May 16, 2022. Interest on all delinquent taxes shall be assessed at 6% on all taxes not paid in collected funds as of August 17, 2021, November 16, 2021, February 16, 2022, and May 17, 2022.
Is there a second to the motion? Seconded by Councilor Ganjay. Discussion on this item? Councilor Chow.
Yes, thank you. Just a question on the point of order. So in our packet, we have a different budget. Shouldn't the budget be read and then the budget be amended? Or is the proposed amendment? Yeah.
Jerry?
This is a first reading, and therefore, what is introduced at the time, as Councilor Morse just did, incorporates the proposed changes, because this has not yet had a first reading. Had it had a first reading, it would have to have been amended. But he took the option that any councilor has to introduce a motion that included the recommended changes that were presented by the mayor this evening, along with the adjustment of the interest rates. So because it's a first reading, procedurally this is permitted. It now has a second. So if it receives first reading approval, this is the budget that will go forward for second reading next week.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Councilor Story.
Yeah, I'd want to speak now during the order to thank the administration for getting creative. I won't be rejecting an increase that is under. I lost the word here. Under basic CPI increase, cost of living increase. But I do want to express my lack of faith in the school department for their handling of funds. We failed an audit, or scraped by an audit, two seasons ago. I'm told that most of the money has come back and that they're on a better track, but just have very little faith. And as I spoke last week, results are what we're looking for. And I have little faith that more money will mean increased results. I don't know that any school budget has been rejected, and yet standards fall and rankings fall. And so I have little faith that meeting their proposed budget will get any different results. I believe there's a quote attributed to Einstein, although I think that's a false attribution, that repeating the same action over and over and expecting different results is the definition of insanity. And yet here we are. I also want to state that while the teachers union may negotiate their pay raises before the budget is finalized on the school department side, that may not be a prudent practice moving forward, since it may not get approved by the city council, and they may have to, as they did last year, forego raises, which I want to express to the public happens in the private sector as well. If your company doesn't meet their goals for the year, you don't get your cost of living increase or further raises or what have you, revenue sharing. So again, I can't reject an increase that doesn't exceed a cost of living increase, but it is with great reservation that I will be supporting this budget. So thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? Councilor Morris.
Just want to say that I hope the council adopts this budget as currently proposed. It represents a lot of great things. One of the favorite sayings of our new president is don't tell me what you value, show me your budget and I'll tell you what you value. In this budget, it shows that we have a city that values our kids, that we recognize that they're the greatest asset that we have. It shows that we listen to our constituents. All of you have come out and emailed us. It shows that we recognize the burden of the taxpayers who struggle. This proposal before us now, it incorporates the wishes of the council as expressed at our recent finance committee meeting to fully fund the schools. It allows the voters to decide whether or not to accept their elected school committee's crafted budget. And it has the support of our mayor, who's been working steadfastly to maintain a manageable tax rate. And I just think that this is a good budget for Westbrook, and I'm going to be happy if this gets passed. Thank you.
Gary, real quick.
Thank you.
Gary, real quick. Sorry.
Councilor Story.
The word is inflation. I'm very sorry. It's difficult being up here. Thanks for bearing with me.
Councilor Chow.
Yes, thank you. I just want to correct some things. So basically, the city council did cancel the school budget for one of the 10 years I was in. Oh, sorry. The city council did vote not in favor of the school budget 1 year. And basically, and all our conditions were that we'll fully fund you if we meet 4 times a year. And that was that and the other conditions that we had for the school committee. So we tried to force some collaboration there. As far as the financing, the school actually has one of the few jobs, the administrative jobs that I'm in favor of is the school has hired an accountant called Heather O'Neill. She is wonderful. She is doing an amazing job with the school committee. I thank her every day that she's there because she's just doing amazing work for the school. Before, I don't know what the school did for accounting, but Heather is doing an amazing job, and I thank her, and I think all the taxpayers should thank her for doing the amazing job she's doing. So that is some of the corrections from last year's budget to this year's budget. We actually have an accountant, so that's some of the things. I do stand by my words from last meeting, so that will reflect tonight.
Thank you, Councilor Chow. Vice President Turcotte.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to mirror what my dear colleague, Councilor Morris, mentioned about this being a great budget, representing a collaboration between the school committee, the city councilor, and the administration, the mayor's office. It took us a little while to get here, but this is all of our voices in one budget. I do want to, say that it is this right step in the right direction in continuing to collaborate between the two entities. I know that the school department used to present to us as kind of an effort to come together. Instead of presenting to us, I'd like to propose having joint meetings several times a year so that we can discuss, if not unofficially, officially, some of the issues that are concerning to the schools. Education is I always say, a ticket to the dance. You know, coming to this country, my parents brought me here. The only thing that they stressed on me is, you know, is trying to get the right education. I had a school counselor who told me that I'll never get to college, and I had a teacher who believed that I could go all the way to law school, and I did. And then in 2003, I was chosen Law Student of the Year for the entire United States. Those teachers deserve our support. Children obviously do, but the teachers deserve our support. So I can't stress it enough that I want Westbrook to be the town where everyone moves because of our schools, not because it's next to Portland, or because Portland is expensive, or because we have good restaurants. Those are not things that bring forward our values, as you mentioned. Values is education, our children, our future. I'd also like to thank Victor for a thankless job of running the Finance Committee. No one is ever happy with how one runs those committees, but I'm thankful for the work that you did, and you did a fantastic job. So, and lastly, I'd like to stress the transparency and accountability. One thing that constituents did mention to me in how difficult this process is that school does not have transparency or accountability, and that is where some of these hiccups happen. We need to do something about that, and we need to do that together, not pointing fingers. But just like I get nasty emails at 2 a.m. from business owners saying that I missed a meeting because I was attending an Armenian genocide commemoration in Armenia last budget, I don't propose you get nasty emails, but you need to have accountability for the decisions that you make. You are not in a bubble, and I think those types of controls and those steps will lead to a more trusting relationship between the city council and the school. So that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? I would like to thank
You go, I'll defer to you.
I'd like to thank Councilor Chow for being the chairperson of the finance. You've done an excellent job, and Councilor Ragonje is your vice chair. Every year we look forward to combining our meetings so that there'll be something that we can have some meat into during the meetings, and not hashing over about tires and different things like that. So actually setting the agenda, having it be on time. We had a couple late evenings, but I do want to thank you very much for your work with that. I would like to speak a little bit about the school committee, the school budget. And as a parent of 7 children that's gone through the school system, I have the utmost respect for every single teacher, administration, bus drivers, different things that make every day work smoothly, cafeteria workers. Let's not forget that this budget still has a $1.4 million increase over the year before. That's a lot of money. I did hear tonight that the state has some revenue sharing that they're going to share with us. I also heard Representative Salisbury not knowing if we're going to get that. It's very hard to vote on what if, or, I think we're going to get it. That's very difficult. I don't think we would run our households like that. You know, if we have X amount of money a week, and you could take everyone to Funtown, but then you don't have money to pay a bill. It's very difficult for the first reading. Hopefully we'll have some numbers for the second reading from the state. Is that correct, Mr. Mayor?
I can explain these numbers too when I have an opportunity.
Okay. So I just wanted to share those comments about this budget. And the school committee has the school, the teachers, the students in their best interest, as we do. We also have the entire city that we need to balance that. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be supporting this budget. I do believe there's enough votes to pass it, but I'm a person that, you know, I like concrete. I like to see what we have. And right now, there's a lot of unknown. Thank you. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to address a couple of things as part of that have been mentioned and as part of the process. But before that, I've shared many heartfelt messages about my carefully crafting of a school budget that made schools and education the #1 priority of my spending plan all along. But as some of my other colleagues have shared, I have worked diligently over years to try to minimize the tax rate increase on many members of the community. And it's all about trying to strike balance. I'll continue to work hard to do that while also making the critical investment in education, teachers, and kids going forward. And I hope people can understand the challenge that we face up here to try to balance the needs of the entire community. Going forward, I hope we don't have to have flat-funded school budgets. We're in a storm right now with the COVID-19 pandemic, not a storm that I looked at being in as mayor when I first became the mayor. Last year, I had proposed in the original budget we had crafted before the COVID-19 pandemic struck. I had proposed a manageable tax rate increase to the citizens, and I incorporated, I think, a school budget that the school budget had initially adopted or was ready to adopt that supported everything that kids needed. And then we were struck with the pandemic, which we're still working to slowly get out of. But I'm optimistic in the future. I'm optimistic that the state is going to be even closer than ever to fully fund education at the numbers that they are required to by law. And I'm more optimistic than ever that municipal revenue sharing is going to also be fully funded at the required numbers by law. Jerry and I have a number of colleagues that we work together all across the state and the region, some of them that have served in excess of 30 years, as Mr. Bryant has, and they see that this is the closest we've ever been to some of these critical funding formulas, and we hope that those continue to get funded, and I hope that we're able to have budgets going forward that have responsible increases in spending while managing and balancing the rest of the needs of the community. I did want to explain one thing about process this evening. So we'll vote on this budget that I appreciate Councilor Morris's proposal as adjusted. We will vote on that this evening. We will vote on the school budget this evening as proposed by the school committee following this item. The next meeting, we will vote on a municipal budget. Should there be substantive amendments that we're able to make, that municipal budget may need to return to first reading at our next meeting, and we'll bring forward final approval at a future meeting. Though the school budget, as presented, will receive second and final reading at our next meeting, and I encourage everyone to support it and to prepare us to be able to do the budget validation referendum that we set. So the revenue sharing figures that I talked about, we work on this stuff diligently. I've had sleepless nights working on this stuff. I have worked diligently to try to find a solution to these challenges. And late last week, the state treasurer, who sets what the municipal revenue sharing figures are, they're all estimates, because should the economy tank 6 months into the budget, the state's going to adjust those revenues, and we also need to adjust those revenues. And we're required by law, as the state is, to balance the municipal budget. So we would have to make those adjustments as we did last year during the budget process that we were in. But those revenue sharing figures that have been provided by the state treasurer reflect the current state budget as adopted by the state legislature at 3.75% municipal revenue sharing. And based on the improved revenue forecast that the state received, the state estimated they're receiving revenue improvements for next year, or for the current year that we're in now, of $460 million over what they had forecasted and budgeted for. And next year, they're receiving approximately $83 million, which is the budget that we're working on approving, $83 million in new revenues and $58 million in new revenues the following year. Those figures affect revenue sharing. It's a circular number. The economy does well, the revenue sharing numbers do well. So as the economy improves, those numbers are going to go up naturally, even at the current rate that we're in. So for President Reardon to be concerned about estimates, all these numbers are ultimately estimates, but these numbers are certain figures that we've been provided by the state treasurer, and therefore we included that $129,000 adjustment, and that's been provided to all municipalities as of late last week. The school revenue number we are estimating. That's a pure estimate. But I'm fairly confident, based on the revenue numbers that I just outlined to everyone and the governor's message that she sent out to everyone in the public on April 27th. And I'll read her quote. "With these new projections, my administration will craft a supplemental budget proposal in the coming weeks for the legislature's consideration. We will continue to invest in the health and well-being of Maine people, in our kids, in our public education system, and in our economic recovery, all of which will help us turn the corner on this pandemic and build a stronger state for the future." Based on her focus on kids, I'm fairly certain, and I have spoken with many senior state leadership in the governor's office, in the state legislature, who have assured me that there is going to be a significant amount of new revenue for this year for schools, which I believe is going to be even more than the $100,000 that we're estimating for Westbrook locally. So I'm optimistic that those numbers will be even better when the governor announces her proposed supplemental budget. At one time, we had heard from the governor's office that was coming out today. It didn't come out today. We've heard now it potentially come out on Saturday. It may change, but we're optimistic in those figures, and we hope the legislature will approve those. But the revenue sharing figures, those are 100% certain. And if for some reason the school revenues don't come in, it's our job as the city to balance the budget and ensure that everything balances and we don't bring in the budget at a deficit at the end of the year. And we will ensure that that happens going forward if for some reason those revenues don't come in. I spoke a little bit about TIFs in the last item, but I wanted to speak another item about those. Many of the businesses that have been provided TIFs here in the city of Westbrook for the many decades that it's happened, even prior to any of us here serving, those TIFs have generated significant amount of jobs for our local residents. I think in IDEX alone, they generated during the time of their TIF over 5,000 new jobs. Many are filled by Westbrook residents. And so that is critical that we have the businesses in our local economy to provide jobs. And by doing that, the tax increment financing, we are helping our residents have good paying, high paying jobs, which we want to have in our community. And so those TIFs help with that. The TIFs also help with public transit. One of the TIFs that when Councilor Chow talked about 100% TIFing something, we have TIFed some of the new residential developments here in our city to fund money for transit. In the last few years, we've expanded public transit in the city significantly, which is critical to a growing community and a desirable place to live. And those increased expenditures in transit are being absorbed, or the growth in our transit system is being absorbed by a tax increment financing district and not by a general fund budget. The other item that's critical that these TIFs include is workforce training funds. One of the business owners that spoke this evening has significantly benefited from workforce training funds that we have pulled from TIFs from businesses like IDEX and other companies to help their businesses grow. So we're able to use the TIFs that help other businesses grow, help other smaller businesses grow. So there's a lot of good things coming from the TIFs. And then the other item that's been talked about a little bit is impact fees. Here in the city of Westbrook, a number of years ago, we closed a public school. And so it's very hard for us as a community to generate an impact fee and show and prove that a certain development or certain residential developments have an impact on schools that would require us to make infrastructure improvements in the schools. So for example, the last school construction projects that we did, based on the studying that we worked with the state and the planning office, we would have been able to only have a very, very small impact fee to help with paying the debt service associated with those schools. We cannot have impact fees to help pay for ongoing operating costs. And so the test for impact fees is very tough to pass, and we would not be able to pass any proposed impact fees here in the community without significant legal challenge. So I would encourage my colleagues not to explore impact fees. The next item is, lastly, I encourage the council to support this budget proposal. Councilor Moore so eloquently stated, it achieves the desires of many. It achieves the opportunity to be able to have a limited tax increase in a challenging year for our community. And I hope that going forward, we're able to collaboratively work together to help bring forth a budget, and bring forth a budget a lot like we did last year, with not a lot of fanfare associated with it, and we can support the community, support educating our kids, and also support our struggling residents. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Is there any other? Councilor Ganjay.
Yeah, I would love to thank you all for participating in this process. And please continue to attend the city council. The same passion you showed to the school budget should be also shown to other issues related to the city that you love, you live where you live, and that you grow your kids in, so that we can be a good city. I want to echo my colleagues to really stress on the issue of school committee versus council. Please, there is no fight between those two elected officials' bodies. We all being elected by the same people, and each group is serving the school, the other is serving the city. But we want to all come together. Just be beyond what people have talked about. It would be very helpful that we do this, really, we commit to do it between the superintendent, our mayor, the city administrator, and our president, that you make it happen. We need to be in the same room to talk about the issues more than talking at the top of each other as if one does not do a better job versus the other. And again, the school budget has 3 steps: the school committee, the council, and the public. So I don't really see why we should really fight that much when we know that even if we reject it, if those taxpayers do support it, it can still pass. So I urge all of us as elected officials, and also the city administrator and the school leadership, so that we can come together to avoid the tension during the school budget next year. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there any comments from the public? Come on down and state your name and your address. Yeah.
Hi, everybody. My name is Caleb Taylor. I live at 31 Winslow Street. I am a teacher here at Westbrook High School. And I also work in the community part-time in a normal year. And so I am relatively new resident of Westbrook. I lived here about 3 years. If anybody is a parent in the audience with a student at the high school, I love teaching your kids. It's such an honor to work in this district. I really, really love it. I would just say it's such an honor to teach here and to listen to everybody talk about the budget tonight. I appreciate everybody's hard work. I know that I've only attended, this is my first meeting, so I know that there was a lot of work put into this meeting tonight, and I appreciate everything you guys have done. I would just say so what's difficult as a teacher is to hear people talk about the budget and stuff without like seeing the kids face to face. So, or teachers face to face. I'm not sure like if you guys know any teachers like personally in your lives or anything, or talk to them about this, like teachers that you actually know that would tell you the truth, not just like ones that, you know, would like just tell you what you want to hear. But I would just encourage like any of you guys to please like come to our school meetings, like not just school board meetings, because those are really great, but to get a better idea of what our schools actually do. Come to a staff meeting. You know, I think answering like a question about, especially if you were looking at like student rank or like how that actually looks in a classroom and like how budgets maybe affect that sort of thing, I think that would be a great idea. And so I just would say like, please come to our schools to actually see what we do. And for those of you that do that, thank you so much for your time. And I also just want to add that President Reardon, your analogy of the budget being like a family bill, you know, where you're talking about like, oh, do we have that money to like go to Funtown? In comparison to the money that's going to be coming into our classrooms, like that's a little hard to hear. And so like I don't think anything that me and my colleagues do is considered like Funtown, or like would be like, oh, this is just an extra thing, or like, oh, we need money because we need to do something that's you know, trifle. But I would just say like, you know, please try to use your words carefully with that. Thank you so much for your time.
Point well taken. Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, it's been moved by Council Morse, seconded by Council Chow for orders number 2021-46. All those in favor? All those opposed? 4 in favor, 3 opposed. Council Story, Chow, and Reardon. Next item, please.
The next item is Order 2021-47, approving the fiscal year 2021-2022 school budget warrants.
What is the wish of the council? Vice President Turcotte.
I'd like to move Order 2021-47, approving the fiscal year 2021-2022 school budget warrants, that the Westbrook City Council hereby authorizes the various sums as shown in Articles 1 through 6 on the attached sheet to be raised and appropriated as shown thereon.
Seconded by Councilor Morse. Discussion on this item? Discussion from the public? Seeing none, it's been moved by Vice President Turcotte, seconded by Councilor Morse for orders number 2021-47. All those in favor? All those opposed? 4 in favor, 3 opposed. Story, Chow, and Reardon. Next item, please.
The next item is Order 2021-48, approving the Wastewater Division budget, Portland Water District assessment, sewer assessment, and setting sewer user rates for calendar year 2022.
What is the wish of the council? Vice President Turcotte.
I move Order 2021-48, approving the Wastewater Division budget, Portland Water District assessment, sewer assessment, and settling sewer user rates for calendar year 2022, that the Westbrook City Council hereby approves the following items for fiscal year 21 through 22, a wastewater division budget in the amount of $4,974,423, a Portland Water District assessment in the amount of $3,196,094, and a wastewater assessment in the amount of $5,265,045, and further sets the sewer user rates for calendar year 22 as outlined below, an increase in the usage rate of 40 cents from $7.33 to $7.73, all as recommended by the Westbrook Sewer Commission on March 18th, 2021.
Is there a second to that motion? Seconded by Councilor Ganjay. Discussion on this item? Discussion from the public? Seeing none, all those in favor? All those opposed? 7 in favor, none opposed. Brings us to our second public comment, where anyone can speak on any subject for 3 minutes or less. Anyone from the council? Anyone from the public? Seeing none, there are no referrals. A meeting to adjourn would be in order.
So moved.
Moved by Councilor Chow, seconded by Councilor Waganche. All those in favor? All those opposed?